Thank you very much, Romain, for giving me opportunity to interview you for my YouTube channel and podcast.
My pleasure.
So I thought to tell about you and the work that you are doing to my audience, and also the work that you did before.
Sure, for sure. Happy to do so.
So can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. So my name is Romain Diaz. I am French. I am based out of Portugal in Lisbon, and I do work in quite a few different countries. I have been doing quite a lot of work for the past 10 years on the African continent, namely in Morocco, where I was involved in the very early days of what then became the first unicorn in Africa called Jumia, which is the kind of Amazon of Africa. And then I joined, and that was done through the venture builder venture studio called Rocket Internet. And then I joined another venture studio called Africa Internet Holdings based in South Africa. I ended up spending 6 years in South Africa, where I then co-founded a venture studio called Far Ventures that I have been running for about 5 years. Through which we had raised a small fund, which is now fully invested and enabled us to build 4 companies from scratch. So that has been a great experience, building mostly fintech companies as well as mobility and financial inclusion. These were the main themes. And for the past 3 years, I had an increasing interest and sense of urgency about the climate and ecological crisis. So I've decided to now put all my energy, time, and focus and money into trying to come up with solutions, technology-enabled solutions for the climate and ecological crisis. And I have decided then to launch a new venture studio, which is this time very much focused on these themes. And so we're currently in the process of raising a venture fund that will enable us to both build and invest into startups from both Europe and Africa that come up with solutions, technology-enabled solutions to try and make us as humanity and as economies to thrive in harmony with nature and to try and bring a meaningful contribution towards the net zero goals that we have, as well as other environmental sustainability metrics. So this is what we're doing at Satgana. Happy to tell you a bit more about us and what we do, but in a nutshell, this is my background and this is what we do.
So you are from?
I'm originally from France and I am based in Portugal.
Okay. So what made you to start this Satgana?
Yeah, so it was the realization that actually a very simple realization, which is that business has an impact, whether we call it impact investing or impact entrepreneurship or not, it has an impact, and the private sector is a very powerful force. Sorry. And when I realized that businesses can have a positive or negative impact or everything in between, I very much realized that I wanted to be on the side of trying to maximize positive impacts alongside returns and also shareholder value creation. But that shareholder value creation is just one of the key success factors that entrepreneurs or companies should strive for. And when I realized the extent to which we are currently in a deep climate and ecological crisis, I realized that I wanted to put all my energy, focus, attention, and money towards coming up with solutions that try to make as meaningful dent as possible into trying to come up with solutions for this. So this is what led me to found this company alongside a number of other wonderful people.
So you started this when you started this?
So we started about, I would say, 2 years ago. This is when really I started to be full-time on this venture. And since then, I've been joined by a number of wonderful people. We've launched publicly in September 2020, and we have generated a really interesting deal flow from different geographies, different teams, different kind of technologies, different sector focus, etc. And we have launched the first company, which is in the space of electric mobility. in Kenya. So it's a company called Mazi Mobility, which aims at decarbonizing transport and mobility in East Africa and going forward in Africa. And we're currently in due diligence process with a couple of companies that we are looking to invest in and support in the next couple of months.
So that's great. So you are this company is based in Portugal or Africa?
No, it's based in Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay. So before this, you worked in different positions, and
Yeah.
like you said in the beginning, you are also a co-founder and a board member of FCBI.
Yeah. Yeah. So previously, I've always been into entrepreneurship. I'm very passionate about the power of entrepreneurship and coming up with crazy ideas and trying to make them a reality, and all the ups and downs and just the journey of being an entrepreneur for me is fascinating, and I love it. I love stories. I love the early stage of imagining the impact that a idea or solution could have on solving real world problems. So I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. I've always been very much an entrepreneur at heart myself. I've co-founded or founded a couple of companies, mostly on the African continent. So very passionate about entrepreneurship in general. And so I've always also been involved in a kind of structure that we refer to as venture studios or venture builders, sometimes incubators, sometimes pre-seed funds. Sometimes the definitions are a little bit loose or overlap at least. But I've always been involved in structures that enabled basically entrepreneurship at the very early stage. I'm very passionate about this, and so this was already what I did before through different venture studios, venture builders, as well as through co-founding or founding companies, either venture studios or direct companies solving real-world problems. So always been involved in this, and I'm just basically taking a lot of the learnings of what I've done before, trying to do it at bigger scale, and most importantly, to do it for positive impact, to try and come up with solutions to the big issues that the world is currently facing.
And you also co-founder and CEO of Far Ventures. What is it about?
Yes, so this was one of the pioneering venture studios on the African continent. And basically what we did back then was to come up with a number of ideas to solve real world problems in South Africa. This is where the company was incorporated and operating. And we just came up with a number of ideas, anything from a peer-to-peer ride-sharing company in South Africa that we launched to a financial inclusion, community savings solutions, microcredit, as well as the leading and most successful companies that we've launched within this portfolio is a company that does artificial intelligence solutions for the financial industry and the insurance industry. Started in South Africa in Cape Town, then moved to Johannesburg, and now expanded to about 7 countries, I believe, at the moment. So the company is quite successful now. And so this is the portfolio of companies that we've built internally at Far Ventures. We had raised a small fund, which is now fully invested, and now patiently waiting for returns for our investors. So on paper, we're sitting on good returns, just waiting for them to be realized. This is part of the learnings of my own entrepreneurial journey of building companies, of building teams, of building products, as well as of learnings of the venture studio model, because this was kind of a tiny version of what I'm doing now, and not necessarily focused on positive impacts or on climate or sustainability. It was more like building traditional tech companies, and now taking a lot of these learnings to do it at a bigger scale, and once again to try and generate positive impacts.
And you also co-founder and board member of Jump in Rides. And, you are into this for 3 years, 9 months.
Yes, so this was one of the companies that we have launched within Far Ventures, and the company is not operating anymore. We started the company in 2016, and we have built a platform. The idea was to connect drivers with empty seats of personal cars with passengers that are looking for lifts in South Africa. A bit similar to a company called BlaBlaCar in Europe, which is one of the leading unicorns companies in Europe and in France, currently live in many countries, and we're trying to kind of replicate what they did for the African continent. We started to have a bit of local success, a couple of dozens, or I think we had about 15,000 users registered on the platform. We raised a bit of capital, but not enough to take it to the next level. So then we had to, unfortunately, shut down the company. It's part of the entrepreneurial journey. Yeah, we started the company in 2016, shut it down in 2019, or basically beginning of COVID, we realized it was not going to happen. So we decided to shut it down. So it's not operating anymore. But yeah, it was part of the portfolio of Farm Ventures.
Okay. And also, you are co-founder and managing partner of Affilio.
Yeah, so this is also over. It was a company doing affiliate marketing solutions, mostly focused on the financial industry as well as e-commerce, mostly operating out of South Africa, although we carried operations in, I think, in total 6 countries during our stint at building the company. And in 2018, we were lucky to sell the company. So it was acquired by a media holding company out of the UK, which bought our assets to be able to leverage upon what we had built to incorporate it within their suite of product. And since then, the company has just been acquired, and I'm not involved with the company anymore.
Great. And you also worked as a guest lecturer at HEC Paris for 1 month.
But I think if we go too much in the past, we won't get too much further. I think it's more interesting to look at the future than my past. So yeah, I've been involved in a number of lectures about entrepreneurship, mostly in emerging markets, whether for HEC Paris in Cape Town when they were like for the MBA students, or for some other French universities doing it remotely. I also did a couple of lectures in Shanghai at the campus of my own university, but I think it's not the most relevant thing that I've done personally. I think what's more interesting is what we're currently doing and where we're going as a company.
And you worked as a VC advisor at LDK Capital.
Yes, but if you don't mind, I would really advise that we focus rather on the present and the future rather than going too much back in the past. I'm proud of what I've done. I'm happy of what I've done, and everything which you see on my CV is actually what led me to what I'm doing today. But I think it is really long ago, and I think we kind of covered what needed to be told about my past. And it was mostly short stints back in the days. But I think what's more interesting to think about is rather what led me in my journey, so my passion for entrepreneurship, and then my understanding of the current issues that the world is facing, and how we've packaged this all together into this company that I'm now leading, and where we are going as a company, I think is more interesting to look at.
So tell me about your present job. You are creating something that is not existed before, and you are trying to understand business, and you're trying to help more people. So how you are able to do that?
Yes, so basically taking a lot of the learnings of what I've done previously, but the idea now is to do it at a bigger scale, and not only to do it for the pursuit of financial returns, although these are obviously very important for the model to be self-sustaining and financially sustainable, but it's only one of the metrics that we look at, because we also look at some impact metrics that are really important for us to realize our mission, which is around reducing greenhouse gases emissions, or removing carbon from the atmosphere, or monitoring ecosystems when it comes to biodiversity or forests, or whichever natural environment, or monitoring or reducing plastic pollution, all these kind of metrics that are linked to the activity of the startups that we are going to accompany and build and invest into. These are part of the impacts that we're trying to maximize in terms of positive impact, or minimize in terms of negative impacts, alongside financial returns. And the whole idea is to really say that it is possible to generate very strong financial returns alongside positive impact. We would even argue that the most successful companies of the next decade are going to be the ones that are really focused on reinventing the way we do business, and especially when it comes to decarbonization, which is a very both hard thing to do from one perspective, but also quite easy in the sense that we just know what we have to do. It's just to pump less carbon into the atmosphere and other greenhouse gases. And so that means that the roadmap is pretty clear on what we need to do. We know that we have to reach net zero economies by 2050, so half century, and to halve our emission by 2030, which is in now less than 8 years. So we're currently not on path at all to do this, but we know what we have to do. We have to decarbonize all economies and all sectors of the economy, and that goes from transportation to electricity to agriculture to big industry, which is hard to decarbonize, etc. And we're focused on coming up with solutions that can help the decarbonization of these industries. Decarbonization is one of the things that we look at. Obviously, we also look at other environmental metrics, such as the ones I mentioned before around either carbon removal or monitoring of ecosystems, biodiversity, etc. But the main one, the most currently the one that has the most attention and also the most framework around basically common understanding of where we need to go in terms of net zero pledges, but also in terms of the Paris Agreement, etc., is obviously on the monitoring of greenhouse gases. And this is one of the key things that we are looking at in our investment focus.
So, what is the impact that Satgana created in this time after
So far,
starting?
very little, I'll be honest, because we're still very much in the building phase. So currently we have launched a first company, or have launched a first company called Mazi Mobility, which aims at decarbonizing transport in Africa by building the infrastructure for electric mobility with a network of swapping stations and electric motorbikes, and then ramping up to other kind of modes of transportation, such as three-wheelers, even buses and four-wheelers, etc. Going forward, but for now focused on motorbikes. And the idea is to really decarbonize or help the transition towards petrol-driven bikes towards electric bikes. So this is the first company that we're supporting. It's based out of Nairobi, Kenya. So far, there's a limited amount of bikes on the road, so we cannot claim a big impact. But as anything related to innovation, it all starts with just a seed, and then a seed needs to be watered and nourished into a healthy soil to be able to then become a tree and then become something big, to take a metaphor which is quite timely with what we're doing. So we start with this. Our belief is that innovation has a role to play. Innovation is not going to save the world, not only, but it definitely has a role to play, along with policy, along with individual action, along with big corporates' commitments, along with activists, along with education. There's many, many things that come into the equation of trying to make this world a better place. And innovation is just one of the bricks to the big, or piece to the big puzzle. And we're trying to basically do our bit when it comes to innovation. So far, the impact that we had is minimal, very honestly. But the impact that we aim to create within 10 years, 20 years, 30 years is massive in terms of all the environmental impact that we're trying to create, as well as the way we're doing things alongside creating meaningful, important, outstanding financial returns for our investors.
So, what is your motivation? What is your driving force behind doing this?
My main driving force is to try and show that it is possible to play within the rules of capitalism, but to do so in a way that is responsible, that is respectful for nature, the environment, our climate, as well as being as inclusive as possible to people, and basically doing the right thing. And that's what Satgana means. Satgana in Sanskrit means a good company, and that is what we're trying to be for the world by epitomizing basically what it means to be a good company in terms of how we do things and what we do and the kind of impacts that we create, and not doing so in a way that is in contradiction or is a trade-off to financial returns. Because if we have a trade-off between financial returns and doing good, then we'll always be in a world whereby there are those who do well financially but are wrecking the world, and those who are trying to do good but are not generating financial wealth. We're really trying to be among the breed of companies that show that it's possible to do both. Obviously, there are many others that do so, many impact funds, many companies that have a positive impact. We just want to be part of this breed and to really epitomize what it means to be a good company by putting all the principles of what we believe a company should do in this decade of action to be as meaningfully good company as possible. That is my driver and my own motivation, as well as obviously really striving to make our best contribution to the climate and ecological crisis.
So is this in this company is in only particular part of the world, or you are spreading it?
We have a mandate which is quite broad. 70% of our investments roughly are going to be in Europe, and 30% are going to be in emerging countries, mostly focused on Africa, but we also have a mandate that enables us to invest into India. If we see on an ad hoc basis that some investments may make sense, we also have that possibility. But mostly, so primary zone is going to be, region is going to be Europe. Second region is going to be Africa, where we already have an investment, and I personally have built companies before, and we have quite a bit of deal flow. And we also have, on a discretionary basis, the ability to also invest into India.
So in different countries, you have different things to do. One country is different from others. So how you are able to manage it?
So we have a distributed team, meaning that we have people working in different countries, anywhere from France, Switzerland, Germany, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Portugal, etc., as well as on the African continent. We have people across South Africa, we have a company in Kenya, etc. We have advisors and investment committee members into India. So really a distributed team without offices. We still manage to build good human relationships within the team because we have shared values and understandings and so on. So we have quite a solid basis when it comes to human relationships because we're all striving for the same thing. And also everybody is an owner, so everybody has equity into the fund. Everybody is vested for the same financial interests as well as the goal to generate positive impacts. So we still manage to have very good collaboration within the team. Yeah, the idea is to still have a good understanding of the local market that we operate on. But overall, so far, we managed to do it quite well.
So what is your understanding where this thinking is coming from?
My understanding of what, sorry?
Where this understanding of yours is coming from, and where this thinking process is coming from. Have you did research, or you have gone through things that nobody have gone through?
I would say it comes from patchwork of many different realizations and aspirations and learnings and hardships and self-education and interests. So it's really a patchwork of many different things to try and package this all into one company, which is going to be the breeding ground for many other companies. So yeah, that's basically where it comes from.
So what change you want to bring in the world?
I guess in 10 years from now, if I look back, I'll be happy if I say we've really managed to create a platform that enables innovators to build solutions that are making a meaningful contribution towards the climate and the environmental crisis that we're in. And we've managed to build a platform that enables them to do so in a way that is in alignment with the values and our paradigm and our view of the world of the way business should be operating. This is something that I would be really proud to look back upon in 10 years from now.
So tell me about your team, how your team is going to contribute to your thought and make this happen?
I would say that our team is well aligned with what we're trying to achieve. First, because most of the people, if not all, have actually joined before we actually had money to invest, meaning that people were really in for the mission and for the ethos and for what we're trying to stand for in the world. Rather than just being in for the money. Obviously, I think most people within the company know that there is going to be hopefully a lot of money to be made as well for all of us. But the only way for us to generate meaningful amounts of money for our investors and for ourselves is going to be by being invested in the long run for what we're doing at the moment, which means that most people are in also because of the human relationships that we're building within the team and the extended team and our service providers and the entrepreneurs that we support, as well as obviously through the impact that we're trying to create. So everybody's aligned on that. Everybody has shares within the fund, meaning that everybody has the same financial interests in ensuring that the returns and the financial value creation that we're creating is going to be shared among the team. So everybody is well aligned on all these objectives. So I believe that with these principles, as well as through the inclusivity that we have within the team when it comes to gender, when it comes to ethnicity, when it comes to age, when it comes to countries, etc. I think we have quite a solid basis, and I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of wonderful people who share the same values and are oftentimes a lot smarter than me. So that really enables us to have a solid foundation to bring upon the change that we're trying to create in the world.
So, what are your predictions about the future?
That's quite a broad question. I will refrain from making predictions in the fields that I am not trying to become an expert on, but on the things that I believe in, I would say that I am trying to bake all the predictions of where I think the world is both going and we need to steer it more towards. This is everything is embodied within the company that we're building, and that is around aligning businesses with net zero commitments, aligning businesses with trying to come up with solutions that are going to be more protective and more restorative and regenerative for nature. Is going to be around more inclusivity towards, again, gender, ethnicity, age, countries, etc. And I think all aspects of businesses are going to become more and more aligned with the view of stakeholder capitalism, meaning that we are going to look at not only shareholder value creation, although this remains one of the key principles of capitalism and ensuring that the system is self-sustaining from a financial perspective, but seeing money just as the fuel for the economy for us to be able to thrive as human beings and in accordance with nature.
So, at last, do you want to say anything to the world who is watching and listening to our conversation from anywhere on this planet?
Yes, I would say one thing. I think that businesses or money can be made in a way that is either extracting value, or by creating value for the world, and everything in between. Obviously, not like everything in life, nothing is black or white. It's everything shades of gray. But striving to, as much as possible, make money by trying to create value for the world in the long term is, in my opinion, the best way to ensure that we thrive as a species. We enable other species, whether they're vegetal or animal or human, to thrive, and to ensure that other future generations can also thrive. I think this is the best way to go about it, and I invite everyone to have the same realization and then act upon it.
So I'll put your web links in the description of this video and also on the screen, your website on the screen. People who finds our video on YouTube can see the work that you're doing and also the service that you're providing to the world.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And at last, as an observer, as a founder, as a CEO, as a person who worked into a lot of positions and also who is working for a very big thing. What do you say about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
To be honest, I haven't. I've just briefly looked at a few, but right now, super focused on the first closing of our fund, as well as due diligence with a couple of companies, as well as supporting our first portfolio company. So I am working like crazy, 80 hours a week, and that doesn't leave me much space for other things outside of really my key focus areas. And when I do have time, I try to regenerate myself because self-care is also part of ensuring that I can then give all my energy towards what I'm doing right now, which is where I think I can have the most positive impact in the world. So in all honesty, I haven't looked at any other videos, but I briefly looked at the kind of people that you've had on the show and that drove my willingness to accept your invitation. I thank you for your invitation on your YouTube channel. Thank you for having me. And when I'm a little bit more relaxed on everything, I'll be happy to look at a couple of the videos that you've done.
Yeah, last thing, I just want your observation. I did masters in software engineering and bachelor's in computer science and engineering. So I took interviews of people who are into different companies and different positions and different backgrounds and different countries. So more than 480 or 490 people came to my show. Like currently, yeah. In the morning, I took interview of the person who works in NASA. Before I took a person into like Marvel. Uh, Production in US. So like that, whenever you're free, you can watch it. I know you're a very busy person, but me talking with different country people and having different, being in different positions and being in different positions and talking with them and trying to understand what they experienced and how they are solving problems, how they are finding solutions, and people like you who are already solved a lot of problems and finding the new ways to solve problems. Getting all this information, putting in my mind, and if I work in a company or if I work for a company, if I do this, how this knowledge is going to be helpful for me.
How is this knowledge? I didn't hear your question.
uh, Talking like experts like you who are already in the industry who are making things back happen and solving problems, talking with people. So how this knowledge is going to be helpful for me if I work in a company in coming days?
I think there is space for anyone with any kind of skills within the business of trying to have a positive impact. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an investor, whether you're a software engineer, whether you're a product manager, whether you're a marketing manager, whether you're an artist, whatever you are, I think there's space to try and use the skills to make a positive contribution to the world. So my advice to you would just be to try and use those skills that you have, especially if you enjoy them, and to practice them and to become an expert at them. We need software engineers in the space of climate and in the space of monitoring biodiversity, and also in other fields that are equally important when it comes to sustainable development, such as education and gender equality and health and so on. So whatever your interest is, I believe you can put your skills at very good contribution, but it's important to keep that in mind, that hopefully you make use of them to try and create the world that you want to live in and you want maybe your kids to live in as well.
So thank you, Romain. I'll keep your words in my mind. I hope your words also encourages and inspires a lot of people in the world. So can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your
Yeah,
permission?
sure.
And also, can I put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website,
Yes,
internet,
sure.
social media, everywhere with your permission?
Yes, with my permission. Well, when will it be published?
In 1 or 2 days.
Okay, cool. Super fast. Yeah, sure. You
Yeah.
have my permission to do so.
Thank you, sir. Keep going, keep doing what you love.
Thank you so much, Sai.
Yeah.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Take
Bye.
care. Bye bye.